Welcome back to Fiction Tea. Talk about episode 3 of Legion season 1. So let's get into it. There's an array of different things going on in this episode. A lot of things taking place. We got David's sister who's being tortured by these government people with these leeches. Yeah, Melanie listened to this story about this wood guy and his wife who find this bird, and then after the bird they meet this woman who actually turns out to be the bird and flies away, which I'm sure is a metaphor for something in this story. Maybe it's a metaphor for Sydney, or maybe it's a metaphor for David. Maybe he's gonna end up going away and that's gonna be the end of him. Then we have David kind of in a meditating position, just thinking about his sister and being really concerned, worried about her, and trying to find her in his mind. So they're still trying to go into David's mind, but they're failing miserably because David's really not allowing them to go in their mind. David's sister is being tortured so badly. Like, she has mascara running down her face, her nose is snotty and gross. It's bad because she has no idea like what's going on and she's just being tortured. So let's talk about the scene with David, young David, and the angry boy puppet teddy bear looking thing that's like super creepy. I love that horror part of that. It was creepy, it was scary, and I'm like, what the fuck? My favorite parts is when David breaks the machine and he starts levitating. I'm like, this is awesome. This is crazy. Like, this is so cool. Like, it's about to get real. I'm thinking like he about to levitate, start killing people, and I don't know, just using his power. Like, that part was so cool. It definitely reminded me of X-Men, an X-Men scene where Magneto just floats up in the air and like, I'm the I replayed that part because it was so, like, I thought it was so epic, so cool how it had the red background scene and then him floating all powerful. It was then David and Sydney kind of float into like this blue bliss, and then they end up in some sort of spiritual image. I like the way they did that visual. The visual is always on point, but like they just getting better and better with it. Then there's a part where they jump to the scene with the creepy dude with the eye, and he freaking interrogating David's sister, who he tells David's sister, like, your brother got superpowers. All those times you thought it was just like some random stuff happening. No, he has superpowers. And then David and Sydney shows up there, kind of in their spiritual forms, their spiritual auras. But the guy with the eye sees them. He reaches out and tries to touch them, but they're already gone. And the whole anticipation of that was just like, killed me. I thought they were gonna get caught. I was trying to figure out, like, how did he know that? Does he have a superpower? Is that a superpower that he can see them? And like, what's going on? They end up back in the pool. It's blue and green dye first, and then it ends up being David and Sydney, which I'm sure is a metaphor for something, but I just don't know yet. Another scene where Sydney asks David, "Do you love me?" And her face does like this weird thing where it's like she's waiting and she's worried, but then when she starts to get the approval, like, her face changes and it makes you question, like, is she playing him this whole time? And it's like, is she even real? What if she's not real and she's just a figment of his imagination? Like, that would be crazy. But her facial expression just wasn't right. Like, it was something about it that I just was like, it just seems untrustworthy, her expression, because at first it's like she's just a girl wanting to be loved. But then it's like it changes into something else, something questionable. Then David, he agrees to let Melanie sedate him so that Memory Guy and Sydney and Melanie can go inside of his mind without him going crazy or being rational. They end up there and they see young kid David. And I'm like, oh, he's so adorable. Look at kid David. And Sydney's like, where's David? I thought he was going to be here. And little David just shows up right behind Melanie. And I'm like, aww. Meanwhile, we got Memory Guy. He's like completely over this. He's like, yo, can we go now? Like, let's go. It shows David having memories within memories. So it's getting crazy. And he's like in his therapist's office stealing things, stacking up tapes, taking stuff. And Sydney starts seeing things, and she's like, oh my god, did you guys see that? She starts seeing like hands coming out the walls, the wall cracking. Meanwhile, she's the only one that's seeing it. She's telling Melanie and Memory Guy, do you guys see that? And they're like, we don't see anything. Like, what's going on? Meanwhile, David's just like there in his memory, of course. He's older David. He doesn't know that they're there. And young David takes off. Sydney chases after him, and then ends up in this like weird, awkward scene where older David is having sex with like his current girlfriend at that time period. And I'm just like, that was random. Awkward. And Sydney's kind of there, so it's Sydney seeing her current boyfriend with his ex, but they're having sex, and it was random. It was so random. And then Sydney starts back on her mission to look for David, and then Angry Boy Doll shows up. And I don't know who did this prop, or if it's it has to be. I would assume that there's a person inside of this like giant doll thing. It's so creepy. It's so creepy, but it's good. It's like good creepy. And the doll just turns around all creepy. The Angry Boy doll that was in the book that David's dad was reading him, it turns around and it's like this creepy dark music, and I'm like, okay, this is like really scary. Then they go into the vent. Young David goes into the vent, and Sydney goes into the vent, and I wonder how they did that shot with both of them in the vent. I want to know, like, I would assume it wasn't a real vent. If so, you're telling me they all squeezed in that vent, and how did they get those tight shots with the camera and everything? I like how it was, the widescreen. I thought it was very cool. I was like, yo, I'm really interested in how they did this scene, though. And then it showed the yellow-eyed creepy dude, and he's just, like, on the side, just, like, creeping. I'm just like, this is creepy as hell, and it's giving me goosebumps. Like, that, it was good. That whole scene was good. So, it gets crazier and crazier. And Sydney ends up waking up, and because she can't touch anybody, she has to, like, hit everybody with the pillows. I thought that scene was funny, because I'm like, what is hitting someone with a pillow really gonna do? Like, and she didn't even, like, she should have hit them in the face so they can actually wake up, or, like, throw some water on them. And I'm just like, she's just basically, like, tapping them with this pillow, and she would be the one that would wake up, the one that can't touch anybody to wake them up. And Memory Guy ends up waking up, but Melanie is still asleep. Ends up getting her hand crushed by the book when she tries to reach out and touch it. And the creepy yellow-eyed blob thing is behind her, creeping up on her. And she wakes up, and come to find out, David might have chopped his mom's head off. Because the book, I believe, is in relation to David. And he might have actually killed his mom, from what I got at the end of that scene. That he might have actually burned the entire city to a ground, or he's going to do it. It was either foreshadowing or saying that he's already done some stuff and maybe he's going to do the rest, or he did it all. He's done everything. So that was a good episode. I enjoyed that episode. I can't wait to watch chapter 4. Actually, I watched chapter 4. Can't wait to review chapter 4. And it just gets better and better and crazier and crazier. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Comment below. Let me know your thoughts about the video and your thoughts about the episode. So, peace. If you love this show, if you love Legion, if you love superpowers, if you love science fiction and psychological thriller with some dabble of horror, you will love to read this book, Rain, published and written by yours truly, T Outlaw. It's about a guy named Joseph who ends up in this psych ward, and he's trying to figure out what's going on in the psych ward and how he can get out of there, and they end up, him and his friends ends up meeting a counselor named John Smith who tries to help them with their abilities and with their issues, which they think are mental issues, but not really mental issues, borderline. And some of them, he finds out that some of them have abilities. If you love Legion, like I said, if you love X-Men, you'll love this because it's a mixture of all those things, and it's just great. The link is in the description box below to get a copy of this, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.